All set. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting. The agenda for May 1st, 2025, Tyngsborough Town Hall. Start off with introductions.
I'm Pamela Berman.
Jeremy Baldwin.
Kimberly O'Brien.
Steve O'Neill.
Dave Robson.
Michael Page.
David Nader with TEC.
Okay. First up, 25 Ingalls Road, map 9, parcel 15-2, and portion of 16-0, 7-lot open space residential subdivision to be known as Otis Woods, continued from April 17th. Please be advised that the applicant has requested a continuance. Okay. Do I get a motion for continuance?
Make a motion to continue 25 Ingalls Road to May 15th at the request of the applicant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We have a public hearing, 405, 409 Middlesex Road, map 11, parcel 26, Yellow House Cannabis LLC, applicant for a modification to a site plan, as well as any other permit relief as may be required to amend the site plan to reflect as-built conditions, advertised in the Little Sun, March 20th and 27th. 2025, continued from April 17th. So the public hearing is still going. Okay, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have Attorney Doug Deshane via Zoom. He's on vacation this week, so.
Not much of a vacation if he's here
Well,
with us.
I agree with you. I'm glad he's on, but.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Douglas Deshane, representing the applicant. As you just spoke with Mike Allen, manager is here. I apologize for being linked by Zoom. I don't think any of us knew I would have been here 6 months ago when I booked this trip. But I do appreciate the opportunity to be heard on behalf of my client. So I'll jump right in it. You'll recall we were before the board at the last meeting, at which time we went through the requested modifications to the plan. And I want to thank the members who weren't there at the last meeting who were able to Mullins in. I think it was important that we have as full of a board as possible. We did, as you know, if you watch the tape, we did walk through the modifications in detail last meeting. I believe that the requested modifications with respect to the modification, the movement of building, the associated paving and curbing adjustments, because just relating to the moving of the building, and then of course the proposed landscaping on the slope, which went from a 3-to-1 to a 2-to-1 slope. We went through that in great detail, and the board was kind enough to provide me a straw poll that they were accepting of the modifications. However, we also spoke about the situation relating to the curbing, and I'll reiterate that my client, this was a horrible error, and we have taken responsibility and have worked as hard as possible to try and get this resolved and get it done correctly. My clients have certainly paid the price for this mistake. We have fortunately been able to, through the payment of additional funds, been able to expedite both materials and labor to get this job done. So again, we're not asking for a modification to the curbing, but rather here to provide you our plan and schedule for correcting it, getting it done correctly. However, I do want to talk to the board about the scheduling and a possible opportunity to allow my clients to open once we complete the entrance and some of most of the parking lot re-curbing, and we have a plan for finishing the internal curbing non-stop. In other words, once we start the job, we're just going to go through to completion. So we did have 4 board members, one of which Mr. Robinson said that under, he felt at that time that he was not, in support of allowing any opening, and so we asked to continue, to see if other board members may, feel differently, or perhaps we also asked Mr. Robson for an opportunity to provide him a more detailed plan of how we're gonna do things. So let me give you that. If anyone's been out on the site, you can see that we have, and Mike, if I step out of line here at all, just put your hand up and I'll stop. But as I recall from our discussion earlier this week, the curbing, has been cut. The bit curb has all been saw cut to be removed. The entranceway, the parking lot, all of that bit curb that needs to be removed has been saw cut. And I believe over the last couple of days, they've been actually removing some of it. Is that correct, Mike?
That is about 75% of it, I would say, has
So
probably
we are hoping
already
that,
been removed in the parking lot.
When did you start that?
Before we said,
Hang on, Doc. When did the, because I went by.
After the last meeting, we.
So the curbing's already
No,
removed?
no.
75% of
The
it?
bit berm is, a lot of the bit berm has been removed that was requested to be removed. The curbing itself has not been installed yet,
Correct, but you're saying 75% of what was there?
roughly,
Okay,
roughly.
go ahead,
Yes.
Doug, I guess.
yeah, I mean, obviously, before we can put in the granite, we gotta pull out that bit pond. So, about 75% of it is out. I expect the rest of it will be done by the first of next week, which is great news because, and again, Mike, make sure I'm correct here, we are scheduled to have the entranceway granite delivered next week, and they are ready to start installing that granite next week. Is that correct, Mike?
That is correct, that's what I've been told.
All right, and the way we've been told this is gonna be done is that they are gonna start at the front entrance and the front island. They're then gonna progress along the front of the parking lot that faces the roadway. As it was indicated that is the most important part of the parking lot. Then, once they get the front of the parking lot done, they will just continue to work their way around the parking lot and around the building and complete full installation of the granite. Correct, Mike?
That is correct.
And we have been told it should be, weather permitting and everything else, should be about 3 weeks, Mike, from the time they start putting in the granite to the time that hopefully it's done. We're happy, that we've been able to get this done, or get this scheduled and get this thing done working, so that we can resolve this, problem. We have also talked about, as we discussed at the last meeting, although we had talked with the police department and they were willing to, provide us, police, details while we do the entrance to the, site, and of course, we were hoping that would be done, during working, while we were open. We did commit to the board last week that we would not, the facility would be closed entirely while we do the front of the entranceway, and of course, that front row along the parking lot that faces the street that, the board feels is most important to be curbed right away, so that, we don't have anyone going out of the parking lot onto the street except through the entranceway. So we are scheduled, we did talk with the police department. I believe because we're gonna do the entranceway while we're closed, there will be no need for a detail because we won't be impacting traffic as far as I know. If anyone feels differently, obviously my client has made arrangements to have police details whenever. However, what we did verify with the chief was that once we get the front entrance done and that first row done, that that aisle along the street, the parking lot aisle along the street, you know, we would like to be able to open at some limited capacity. And it would allow us to, we would in fact have a detail in the parking lot while they were doing the edge of the parking lot. Contractor has said they'll probably tie up anywhere between 3 and 5 spaces in the area where they're putting the curbing, you know, in the parking lot on the outside. They'll have a pickup truck, maybe a small cement mixer, a little equipment trailer, and of course, what they'll just do is work along the parking lot line, move, you know, get their 30 or 40 feet in, and then move down, occupy a couple different spaces, do their 30, 40 feet, and just continue to move through the parking lot to get it done. We believe that once the front's done and the front parking lot is done, front row of the parking lot is done, with the police detail, we can safely, you know, complete the you know, the internal cleanup while we're operating. But we are not proposing in any way, shape, or form to operate until that front section in the island is done. I do want to say one more thing about the island and the front of the entranceway. And I don't mean to rehash history, but factually, when my clients applied for their curb cut with Mass DOT last year, and again, when they were dealing with the installation of utilities and, you know, erroneously installed the spit berm, the Mass DOT had made a minor revision to the entranceway. They require a 30-foot, and maybe David probably knows more about this than me, but I was told that Mass DOT required a 30-foot radius for that entranceway. And also they made us shorten the center island so that it was not located on the highway itself. So that reduced island is because it starts at the property line and then goes into the property onto our property. The Mass DOT would not allow the island, which was why it was longer, to actually go beyond the right-of-way to the highway. So we provided you just a small plan. It just shows the 30-foot rounding that Mass DOT required as part of our Mass DOT curb cut. So we just wanted to make sure that the board is acceptable that this new curbing, the granite curbing, is going in at that 30-foot radius, and not the exact radius that was shown on the original plan. And the island is somewhat modified because we had shown it going out beyond the layout of Middlesex Road. I guess we want to talk about that first, and that is the board acceptable with us meeting DOT requirements with the granite curb?
Dave, how much of that island was cut off?
Looks like about 2 feet. I was comparing the original approved set of plans with the modified and then this newly proposed. It looks like in the original plan, it spans between the dashed line, which is the 15-foot buffer, and then the right-of-way. So I'm guessing it's about a 15-foot in the original model.
So 15 feet of granite's missing, not missing, but they cut it down, that island?
On both sides of the island, yeah. Well, not 15 feet. It would approximately be, I mean, off of this, maybe 2.5 feet. It looks like the whole island from the original to the modified request shifted down say about 2.5 feet based on this, and they cut off the 2.5 feet in the bottom instead of shifting it up. But I mean, it's 13-foot island there.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Yep.
just add a point of clarification on that, because I did talk to the
Yep.
engineer. At the last meeting, there was discussion about why the island was so small. I think Kimberly had brought that up, and why that deviated so much from what was originally approved. So what we did, I had the engineer go back to the drawing board essentially and expand the size to closely resemble what, it's almost identical. It's about he told me it was about a foot short of what was originally in the original plan. And so it's almost identical to what was originally approved in the special permit drawing.
Dave, does it go back into the property more?
It does.
As with the,
Based on
on-
the original or what was built?
the new one goes back into the property more if they kept it the same size. If you cut between the dotted line and the
Yep.
property line, it's about 15 feet.
Right.
So what they did is they moved the island back into the property, correct? Am I correct?
It was never in the right-of-way, the original approved DOT drawing. The original approved DOT
not-
drawing, which was that small island.
Correct. My question, though, is originally, that island would have came out to the dotted line, correct? Roughly. So, to make up for that, you pushed the island back and shortened it a foot or two,
Correct.
correct?
DOT, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I get it. I get to
Gotcha.
compare with the DOT. Question for Dave first. The cars coming in now, does that create a problem for the radius turns into here?
The larger radius would help any sort of vehicle turn into the site safer. It gives it a larger radius, so
So-
it's not quite as sharp of a turn.
But what about taking the right coming around the building? You know what I mean? If you
Only
come,
deliveries go that way.
but how big are the trucks? Does it affect it?
It shouldn't, because it would just be another turn.
You know, I don't want them backing
Right.
up there, you know what I'm saying? Where if they moved it, obviously, if it's 15 feet removed, so if they moved it, even if it's 12 feet further up, that makes that radius to make that quick right to come in.
I see what you're saying.
Does that create?
I don't think it affects it enough. I mean, they would still, if they knew they had to take an immediate right, they would probably swing up closer to that island anyways. I think the increased radius is a Mass DOT, I mean, it sounds like it was required by Mass DOT, and
No, I get it, but the moving that island 15 feet up or 12 feet up, is it gonna create a problem going?
I see
you know
what you're
I-
saying.
You know,
I don't-
coming in, going right or going left?
right. I don't think that island, where they have it now, is gonna affect the flow of traffic. Am I answering your question?
I guess if you're saying that, but I just don't know how moving it, just had, moving it 12 feet towards the inside to make that,
They didn't move it 12 feet, so
They shortened it.
shortened it a foot? I thought you said you
About
kept
a
it the
foot.
same size,
Right.
moving it back into the property, so you did.
So I've marked up the drawing that they had sent over. So I have the right-of-way marked out on essentially the bottom of the page, and then
Yep.
you have the 15-foot buffer. The
Yep.
blue that I sketched in is approximately what the original was.
Yep.
And then what they have now, it's shortened away from the property about, say, 2 feet.
Gotcha. Not on down below here.
Correct.
Yeah. That's shortened, so the blue is taken out.
Yes,
All right. I thought it went the other way and was
right.
encroaching on the building. And the rest of the plantings and all that is completed? It was completed, you checked it, and the,
Yeah, as far as the
the
as-built goes.
s-
I mean, I know they still, I don't know where they're at with the change of
The-
plantings along that slope. I don't know.
It's in the works.
Okay.
We just haven't been able to get the landscaper out there yet to actually plant it, but it'll be done during the time that the curbing is being put in.
see, the only, and you're saying you're getting curbing next week,
Correct,
and they're gonna start immediately,
correct.
and it's gonna, what's the length of the project depending on weather, but how many
Sure.
feet of curbing roughly?
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's about 3 weeks of work, but the linear feet, I don't have that off the top of my head. It was a lot.
And you got a curb company doing it, correct?
Site work company, yes. He's,
Because when these guys start laying it, they should be able to lay it pretty quick.
Correct.
I've seen it done, so
I'm just giving you the estimate he gave me.
I get it. It's just an estimate. And you wouldn't plan on opening until after the whole front was done anyways? The island?
Right,
So that's at least 2 weeks out?
to do the front,
Yeah.
I don't think it's that long, but I didn't ask that question of the timetable for just doing that one section.
Well, Mike, when I said the front section, what I was committing to was the curves coming in, the
Yep.
island, and then along the right-hand side of the parking lot, the front that faces
Faces
Middlesex
the road.
Street.
Gotcha.
So I'm guessing, gentlemen, that if, ladies and gentlemen, if it's a whole 3-week job, it would seem to me they can get that curve, the 2 radiuses, the island and the front done in 2 weeks. It seemed logical. So we would be looking at best case scenario, we would be looking for the building inspector to come out and inspect that the front and the side was done, and would beg the board to please let him issue a temporary OP at that time, only after he's satisfied that the front and the entrance is done. And then we would take another week or a week and a half to just finish the inside of the parking lot with a full detail, police detail there at all times.
Well, if you're not planning on opening for 2 weeks anyways, with that being delivered, and I'm kinda not on board to have you open prior to the work being completed, because there's a lot of moving parts here, why not come back in 2 weeks and say, this is what we got done, what do you think? And we only need another week and with a detail. And that would take a lot of guesswork out for me. You don't plan on opening, it isn't gonna affect you monetarily or anything. And we can see how far they get in 2 weeks and come back, and if things are going great, then guess what? Takes a lot of guesswork out for us hoping it gets done, for you to say, well, you know what, and we're pretty smart people here. If we get a week of rain, we get that not much is gonna get done, but it's gotta be hard rain, because curb guys lay curb in the rain if it's not pouring hard. So I'd be more comfortable myself, and I hear what the counselor says, that you have one member that wanted to, check on it. You're here on this, but are you weighing in on it, or do you have any issues with it being with property that you own close by or anything? Well, he says there's no conflict, but that's fine. But I think honestly, I'd be more comfortable you guys coming back in 2 weeks and seeing how far you got, and let's say, you know what, at that point, maybe it will be a good idea to have a detail in there and just finish up something if that's the case, if there's a small piece or whatever. I'm not comfortable with I'm just not comfortable at this point where you're saying, if everything's saying, like you're saying, shouldn't be an issue to come back in 2 weeks and look at it.
Yeah,
For myself, my own personal, you got 4 other members here.
Yeah, no, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I respect your opinion. We've done our due diligence on this. I've had 2 conversations with the police chief. He's given you a letter that outlines the fact that we're going to have a traffic control plan in place.
You're not gonna have him until after you're open, 2 weeks after you get it done. Correct? No detail unless you need it?
No. I'm putting a detail out there right away.
I'm
Ne-
saying,
ne- next
for
week.
the curbing, no.
For the curbing, correct.
But you're not planning on opening until 2 weeks anyways, for the
Well-
work to get done.
I would like to open while that work is being done in the
But you
parking
can-
lot.
It's,
That's what the whole request was. We do the driveway first, get the driveway entrance, because at the last meeting, there was, the consensus of the board was that they didn't want one lane shut down while one lane was open. So we said, okay, we will finish the driveway, we will not open during the driveway. Once we get to the parking lot phase, as we move around the parking lot section by section, we would have a detail officer out there each day, ensuring public safety is in place, ensuring everything's coned off properly with traffic control devices, and,
I get what you're saying, but what you just said and what council just said, it would be about 2 weeks for you to get the whole front done. So whether we grant it or not grant it tonight, 2 weeks, you're not gonna need an opening for 2 weeks at least. So I would feel better, and this is just me, that you come back in front of us in 2 weeks, and guess what? Good faith, we see what you do. Good faith, we can see maybe a little better of what gets shut down, what doesn't, how far you got, how long it took to do this. You know, so
Yeah.
we can, it's, you're not gonna open till the front's done anyways, according to council.
right, that was the concern that was brought up at the
So,
last meeting. Counselor,
and in
Mr. Robson
two-
brought that up.
I have
And
concern
be-
with the whole thing being open.
No, but your concern
Listen,
was the front.
I'm
Right.
I'm just telling you my opinion.
Sure,
So I don't know how that hurts you, if it's gonna take you 2 weeks anyways to come back before this board to say, this is what we got done, we said this is what we do, and you know what? I hope in 2 weeks you say, hey, we got a lot further than we got, because these curb guys are good when they start laying curb, especially without having to worry about traffic and cops and everything else, are gonna get it done a hell of a lot quicker. But I'm hoping in 2 weeks you come back and say, hey, we blew this thing out. Let's get it done. That's my opinion.
Sure.
You can go as far as you want with it, but
can I just respond to that?
you can respond to that, yeah?
I know we're saying 2 weeks, it could be a week, Mr. Chairman.
And-
We could have that
And
piece
then, you know
done in
what?
a week.
And then, you know what? But the plan is 2, and that's what you planned on. So guess what? You get an extra week out of it, and you say, look at this, guys. We did it quicker than we thought. Boom. And then come back to us. And that's what I'm hoping for, too. I'm hoping it only takes 2 or 3 days. But I'm not doing the work. I don't know, you know.
Sure,
But
sure.
that's just my opinion. We got the rest of the board here, and we'll go through them, and just like we always do, Counselor, and you guys can make your own decisions.
Sure. No, I just wanted to clarify the point of the discussions I've had with the contractor, the discussions I've had with the police chief about the phasing and how this was all gonna be done, and if it gets done quicker, like you say, which it very well could, I'd like the board to consider having the building commissioner come out when
It's not
those,
even gonna be the building commissioner. Our engineer is gonna check it, we're gonna
Okay.
check the work.
Okay.
And I'll feel comfortable after 2 weeks to make a decision, because I got an estimate of 2 weeks. I know you're hoping 2 days, but 2 weeks come, and for some reason you don't have granite there, then, would have been shame on us. 2 weeks, you get most of it done, great. And now we're working together. So you didn't plan on opening for 2 weeks anyways, according to council. 2 weeks is what you gave it. So if you get done in 8 days and you gotta wait 2 extra days, that's 2 extra days to lay curbing. So it doesn't seem like the 2 weeks, and I get it, 1 week, if you got done, I think it's a lot cleaner if you come back in 2 weeks and say, hey, we told you, and look what we did. Might look a lot cleaner, and I'd feel a lot better. So I didn't give you the 2 weeks. That came from Counselor and you.
I understand.
And
that
we're
is-
meeting every 2 weeks, so that would work out perfect.
I was we were giving you a conservative estimate, that's all. And all I'm saying is I would expect it to be done sooner than 2 weeks, because
And
the
I'm hoping-
entire job could be done in 2 weeks.
And that's beautiful.
Right,
And then
I don't know that,
Then you
though.
come back
Right.
and we get an as-built and we go from there.
sure.
But we'll let Jeremy, you have anything to weigh in on?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, just, I guess, you know, understanding how much you're gonna, I want solutions to get this thing open. And, you know, to give you some guidelines, rather than going forward and saying, okay, I think the best part of attack is gonna get the front done, and then we do this part. I guess if maybe the board can come up with a game plan for you to phase this, because in my eyes, just having the construction going on in the middle of the parking lot is a concern of mine, as it's open. So, one solution that I could come up with is possibly doing the entrance, getting everything done there, and everything in the middle, right? You have 4 different islands in the middle, getting those 4 done. And that way, your construction crew is on the outside, on the perimeter, and then you're only closing down the 3 to 5 parking spots is what you had said. That way, you have everything pushed to the outside. The pedestrian safety isn't as big of a concern because your construction vehicles are parked on the perimeter, and the people walking through don't have to deal with a cement truck or a forklift or whatever it is to put these pieces of curb in place. And then it just feels like a safer environment, cleaner environment to me. I'm less concerned with, like I said, everything on the perimeter and really the back of the building and the right side or around there. That could almost be, I'm trying to think of a way that you can phase this to make it safe to open. I think it's a good idea to have the police detail on site the entire time that is being done. But that would just be my opinion about a way that we can, I'm trying to meet in the middle a little bit, but there's a solution, and I feel like it's a safe solution. That's all I got.
I agree with Jeremy. I think we're pretty protected if we were to say the driveway, the very front, and then the 4 islands done before you opened, because you're not gonna be allowed to open until it's inspected, and, you know, so
Right.
it's not like we're giving you a week and then it's not done and you get the opening. We're saying you have to have it done.
Sure.
So if you're able to do it in a week and then you can open, I'm fine with that. I like the idea of having the police detail there to protect any pedestrians who are walking through.
Yeah, and just so the board understands, the way it was explained to me, and Mr. Robson is in the construction business, he probably understands 100%, but the way it was explained to me is when the curbing is the first phase. Once it's all ripped up, the curbing gets installed. Then a concrete truck comes in and just pours concrete around the curbing to set it all in place. Then things are backfilled, the paving crew then comes in afterwards and lays their top coat of pavement on the areas that were disturbed. And then that's essentially it. It's essentially done in 3 phases: removal, granite, concrete, and paving.
No, second. Good.
Yeah,
And just, again, you know, you're looking at 3 weeks for this whole thing hopefully to be done, is what you originally told us.
Sure.
And, you know, providing, you know, flash floods. We're only looking at 2 weeks that you said you weren't gonna open anyways, so I'm hoping you come back here, like they say, with only, you know, less than a week's work. That's my opinion, but go ahead, Dave.
All right, I have tons to say, I'm sure you can imagine, but I'm gonna keep it short because I've said most of it. But I'll start off with, I completely object to the place being open at all, at any time of this construction being done. December 17th, you guys had your notice that you needed to do all this stuff. So you had plenty of time to do it. So looking for forgiveness from this board, from me, I'm speaking for myself, I see no forgiveness for it. Secondly, there was an accident up there this week at the satellites because there is so much traffic and everybody looking, head-on collision with a pedestrian hit. That's what people are gonna be doing if you're opening, doing all your stuff, cars coming in and out of there. I'm reading the letter from the chief of police, and I'm thankful that he said, while it's not within my authority to approve your business opening, because that's exactly right. It's
Sure.
this board that decides that. I appreciate the input he give us, but that's not gonna weigh in on me at all. And you're right, I am in the construction field. There's no way that I would wanna see, and I don't think you would neither, honestly. Machines are gonna be flying around that place, running curbing back and forth. Cars are gonna be coming in. That's what I do. I operate machines for a living, and I know exactly how I operate when we're under the gun to do things. So, and that's what happens. You're familiar with it too, okay? I don't understand why, safety-wise, you guys don't just say to yourself, let's get this curbing in and be done with this. It solves all problems. We all want you to open. We gave you a permit, but we certainly want to see it done in a safe way.
Sure.
And it could have been done long ago. We didn't have to be here since, in my eyes, we probably didn't even have to have a meeting after February. I think it should have all been done by then. So, that's my opinion, and like I said, I'll say it again. Instead of wasting your time and this board's time, get the job done and then come back to us to open. That's my opinion.
One question regarding the detail. Would you plan to have the detail during the entirety of the perimeter being done?
I will have a detail, if this board wants a detail there, every single day of construction. It's that important to me, my staff, the town. We, as you know, everyone on this board knows how the amount of traffic that goes to our competitor across the street. The ease of that by having us open as well would I think help with that traffic issue. I guess that's the first point that I would make. The second point is we've hired a lot of people, a lot of local residents that they gave up other jobs to come work for us. And so, you know, having to have them wait in the wings and not collect a paycheck is impactful for them and for us right now. So that, I'm asking for some consideration there. And then the other thing is, I mean, we stand to bring a lot of revenue to the community. A week of not being open it may not sound like a lot, but it is in terms of the amount of money that gets generated in these facilities on a weekly basis. So that's why, you know, I'm trying to shave down that amount of time as much as I possibly can, if the board would consider that and approve it.
Like I said, I'm not comfortable. I have, you know, you made a couple of comments about you think that you opening up would ease the traffic. To me, it's probably gonna make it worse, okay? I'm not here for the traffic anymore. We're here for the safety, right? We're here because somebody screwed up somewhere, okay? Because, like Dave said, could have been done when you guys got your occupancy way back when, or whatever it was, and 4 months ago. That's not the fault of anyone on this board. Not blaming you wherever it fell. It's not because of any of us. I hear, and I only took your words and your counselor's words, that you're hoping to be done in 3 weeks, and in 2 weeks, you're not gonna open for at least 2 weeks to get this done. That was the time frame. So I don't see the problem, you coming back in 2 weeks and say, look, and then, you know, let's see what you got done. And if, you know, who knows? I don't know if my feeling's gonna be, like Jeremy says, hey, how come you didn't do the islands and get them done? You know, in the front piece, like you said. I don't know, but if there's nothing done in 2 weeks, we'll probably have a different conversation again, and probably be waiting for whatever. I don't know. But it's not gonna hurt you in 2 weeks. It's not gonna hurt any employees in 2 weeks, because you didn't plan on opening for at least 2 weeks. That's what the goal is. The goal is to open in 2 weeks. So you can come back to this board in 2 weeks, and let's see what you got done, in my opinion. Because as of right now, I'm not comfortable. But in 2 weeks, I may be. And I'm glad the police chief wrote his letter. And he also says here, to assist with traffic control during portions of the project. Now, you say you're willing to have him here. He's saying portions of the project. I don't know where the miscommunication is, whether, he was only gonna be part of the job we need you and not part of the job. I don't know. And it doesn't really matter. If you need a detail bringing in the equipment, he'll decide that. We're not gonna decide that. You'll decide that, not us. But right now, I'm not comfortable. Maybe in 2 weeks, I'll be a lot more comfortable by seeing how you guys do, It's up to you.
Can I ask for a clarification?
Yep, go ahead, Counselor.
Sorry for interrupting. Mr. Chairman, I think I understand exactly what you're saying. If I could, I just want to make sure my client is understanding, because my counsel to him is to come back in 2 weeks. I just want him to understand that I think what you're saying is, the board is not comfortable saying, okay, if you guys get this done in 2 weeks, get the front open and get the islands done, and then we would let you open while you do the inside. And what I think you're giving us an opportunity to do is to go get as much done as we can in the next 2 weeks, and then come back to you and say, look, we've gotten the entrance done, we've gotten the islands done, we've gotten the major things done. Would you please consider allowing us to finish the internal part of the parking lot while we open? I think that's the opportunity you're giving us, is to at least show you what we can get done, and then come back in 2 weeks about opening. I do want to clarify the police chief's, I think I understand what he meant. Because we were not going to do any work in the front while the building is open, I assumed we wouldn't need a detail out at the front if the building's not open, we're not operating. But we did make it clear to the chief, and again, if the board feels you want the detail there while we're doing the front, even though we're not open, my client is committed to it. But I think what the chief was referring to is, we had indicated to him that if we did the work out front while we were closed, we likely wouldn't need a detail. However, we would need a detail for the internal parking lot if we were working on that during operating hours. So I think that's where that meant about a portion. But again, as my client has said, if you want a detail out there while we're doing the front, even though the building's not open, he's committed to doing it. So you can let him know what you want. The other thing, if I could respectfully ask the board, is it probably would be best if you could at least formally vote the modifications, the building movement, the landscape, and even the minor modification to the entrance that DOT wanted. That way, Mike is getting this work done on an approved plan.
I think we already did that last week for you, Doug, when we gave you the straw poll. And I would have thought by 2 weeks by now, maybe the plants would have already been in, because the board sat here and gave you that time.
No, I know, you did give me a straw poll, I'm just wondering.
And the plants aren't in,
You guys think?
and the plants aren't in right now, Attorney DeShanes.
That's all
Hang on,
I'm
Dave.
asking.
All right, listen.
Yeah, we're moving forward with everything, Mr. Robson. It's just the landscapers couldn't get in there between the two meetings, but I'm
Dave-
hoping they'll get in there between now and when we see you in 2 weeks. But I'm just wondering, do you
Just-
guys think you should take a formal approval? I'm comfortable, I know you took a straw vote, but.
Counselor, just so that I don't mislead you by saying, I told you I didn't feel comfortable. I said, let's see. I don't want to mislead you, and you come back in 2 weeks and say, hey, I did this, you said. I want to feel more comfortable, and I don't feel comfortable at all right now. That's
Well, I
just so,
understand.
okay.
I
I just don't want,
understand
I just don't want you
You're
to,
just giving us an opportunity to show you how much we can get done, and then show you how we could potentially do the parking lot
just want it,
while we're open.
just
That's
want
all.
it done so nobody gets hurt, that's all.
Right.
And as
I'm very
far,
comfortable with that, and I appreciate it.
and as far as a formal vote, I think we can do that all at once. I think you got what you needed last week. I don't think that that's gonna be an issue for you, but, we'll just, wait on that.
Oh, all right, that's fine.
All right,
I understand. I just
so-
wanna make sure.
One thing.
Go ahead.
One thing, to Dave, and to you also, Mike. Why can't this, remember I was saying this doesn't designate exactly how to come in and out of that parking lot to make people stay to the right as they're leaving your parking lot? Why are we losing any length here? Why can't we back that up so that it would define more on their property, telling the people they have to take a right? Because right now, that does nothing to tell someone which way they're going, leaving that parking lot. You do see a sign, but that has, it's smaller than the car that I drive. There's no real, hey, we gotta take a right turn here. I don't know if any of you guys have been up there to see it driven in and out of the parking lot like I have. Yep.
Go ahead.
And just real quick, your guys are working at a pretty good pace, because they didn't even have the equipment off the trailer at 8:15 yesterday morning. I'm watching the project.
Yeah, they're good, they're doing a good job.
So
I
I
agree.
have all faith in them that you guys are gonna,
That's what I'm
you're gonna
saying.
cruise
Your
through.
guys are quick when
Yeah.
they know what they're
I know a
doing.
guy who lays a mile a day, so
But just,
I think you guys are on the right path, but I'm safety first. We just had a bad
I am
accident.
as well.
let me,
I am as well.
Okay.
For the
Okay,
record, I am as well.
let me just, if you're willing to look at that island, maybe with the engineer, and you guys can do it offline or before they lay that, to check it out, to make it a little easier. You can lay get it done before the curb guys and make the adjustment and come back, and we'll make that change also for the turn in and out,
Yeah,
to make it extend it a little.
To be clear, it's extended right up to the right-of-way line. And then
No, I
if we
think he
move it
means backwards towards
we-
your, in
Right.
towards the property with the engineers, so that I guess it's more defined which way to go out.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know that helps us define which way to go out by extending it further towards the building.
You can make it,
I mean,
you can make it do the turn so it sweeps. to
no,
come
no,
out.
no, which
Can we stripe it?
it essentially
narrow?
does.
One in, one out?
We
But
have
He's got the
to,
signs there already.
But do we have
It's
arrows?
so tiny, Jeremy, that it doesn't
Yeah,
tell you
so-
at all which way to go.
Is
Can
there an
I-
easy way to do this, Dave, so that it
we have to
doesn't
go
tie 'em up?
12-foot lanes, that's the problem, right?
I mean, I
right,
would
Dave?
suggest putting like like Jeremy suggested, kind of extending that island back. You can extend it back to where it was before, back to that 15-foot buffer. But a tail on it with striping that would help define the lanes further into the site, that can't hurt anything, whatsoever. So honestly, that would be my suggestion, kind of having another 10-foot tail of striping that would define the two lanes as you enter the site further.
You willing to look at that?
Sure.
Maybe have your engineer call him and just
Absolutely.
talk to him, and we'll see what we get, and hopefully next meeting, if them guys go crazy, we can, you can have your ribbon cutting at some point, at least 3 weeks away, right? Because that's when it's done. So we're only up a week, so let's do our best to get it done.
And I hope you don't take me as being argumentative. I want to get open. This thing has been a
We
long
didn't
journey.
approve it so you could
I
stay
know,
shut.
I know. We're so close to the finish line here. If I hadn't hired all these people and,
Well,
Kinda made
next
these
when you
commitments.
open, make sure they build it according to plan.
no,
That's all.
Mr. Chairman, trust me, I've beaten myself up over that for
I-
a
be-
while. So,
Before, and I'm assuming, council, we're gonna ask for a continuance, but before we do that, before we do that, anybody in the audience, seeing it's still a public hearing, have anything to say? Hearing no one, seeing no one, everybody all set? Okay,
So just to be clear, 2 weeks, we come back, if everything's to your satisfaction, the progress of what we've made, if we haven't 100% completed, we talk about it then in terms of.
we can talk about it till the sky turns blue again, but like I told you, Counselor, I'm making no promises, and I don't want to mislead you.
I got you.
Straight shooter, and just want you to know. Let's see at the time.
All right.
So, formal request, do I have a
Make a motion to continue to the 15th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? Hearing none, see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully they get it wrapped
That's
up.
my hope.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Council.
Doug.
Enjoy your vacation.
Enjoy your vacation, Doug.
All right, moving on. Approval of minutes from April 17th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting from April 17th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, new business. Topics that the chairman did not reasonably anticipate would be discussed. I guess first up, we'll have Triple Crown, and then I do have something to discuss.
Mr. Chair, in your packets, there's a letter from Conservation Director Emily Rush. She went out onto the Triple Crown site yesterday and made a lot of observations on the condition of the road and the wetlands. There's a long explanation with pictures. She wants the board to be aware of the conditions out there, and she would like to organize a site visit with any of the board members that want to come out, with David, our engineer, Jake, the town engineer, Ben, and whoever else wants to tag along. Your packet also includes the current bond amount, which is $180,000.
Well, unfortunately, there's not a whole heck of a lot we can do. I know Ben was gonna try and reach out to him,
He's tried a couple of times. He did speak to him a couple of times.
with any results.
No, he's hard to pin down.
And he's probably gonna be hard to pin down to get it finished, so I think we're gonna have to talk to council about, going after the bond, or to see what we do to fix it. I know there's a lot of conservation stuff, but there's also a lot of road there that needs to be done.
Right.
And, unfortunately, I think the town's gonna get stuck with another bad road, if he doesn't come in and fix it. This conservation stuff, these silk fences, they should be, what is it, a weekly maintenance on them, right? On the silk fences?
It should be an inspection, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
inspection by the town, and unfortunately, we had another engineering firm in here, and, I don't know how it slipped through their fingers, or our fingers, to put blame on anybody, but, there are some issues out there, and I think 180,000 might just get a little hot top, but not all the conditions fixed. Anybody else? He's built out, and has all the houses sold, so.
Does he have them all sold?
Oh, they're all sold and gone, and there were people trying to buy from first ones that were bought that bailed out of buying them because of the condition of the road and the $180,000 bond for the million-plus house, so. That's why I think, we had discussed it earlier, I think it's very important, and even before I sign these, I know council was gonna talk to our council, we need a boilerplate language that gives us increases, for any developments, especially another one coming in, if it gets approved, the 7-lot subdivision, we need timeframes, we need yearly inspections. Binders should only be down max max 2 years or a year.
Maybe,
You know,
yeah.
maybe a year. And we need built-in bonding percentages, so if the bond's 100 grand, it's gotta go up 10, 12% yearly if they're not done. Because, you know, this thing was approved, I don't know how many years ago, Crown Estates.
6?
And, you know, that was okay to finish it way back then.
It was during COVID.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, 180 grand, he's, you know, he's gonna walk, he's not gonna finish it. I make that prediction, and I hate to make it, but, you know, that's why we need the language in there from the council, you know, to, you know, no releases for the last so many houses until, you know, we get an as-built on the road and things to, so this stuff doesn't happen to the town. When I first got here, we had all kinds of bond money for different roads, which the money would never finish half of the problems, and it's probably sitting in bonds still that we never got, and I,
Still money there, yeah.
and I think that, you know, the town or us should talk to council and at least get the money that's in bond for all these roads that are unfinished.
Well,
And-
it's a lot harder than you think,
I know,
because the bonds were put together differently than they are now. Passbooks, like 3 different signatures, so you need the developer, the town, but, you know, and sometimes the developer just won't, you know, it's not worth.
we're gonna have to sue, we're suing
Exactly.
personally, and,
So over the course of the past 17 years, I'll be here for 17 years, I've been working with the treasurer's office, and again, we've had several different treasurers over the course of
Right.
years. So it's hard to get even a consistent,
updated.
process out of them, you know? But we have managed to get a couple of them.
And I'm, and I don't know if that bond money has to go for that road, or if the town can take it and put it in their roads, you know, that's up to
Right,
council and
right.
legal. But it's time that I think we clear it up, but before this board, as long as I'm here, I'll never approve another project without our council reviewing it and the boilerplate, you know, information is in there, you know, the increases on bonds, no releases of whatever it may be, if it's a, you know, 5-lot subdivision, the last 2 houses, however it is, so that this town doesn't get stuck with a problem again. Because I'm not gonna be here very much longer, and it's gonna be up to you guys and whoever else comes on. But the only way to protect the town is money and holding them. And it's nice to be nice to people and help them, but being nice to people doesn't help them, because we had a fight over this guy to put up a bus seat, you know, when the time came to get releases, and he still never put the seat in for the bus seats, you know, he just blew it off.
So
So-
do you want him to come to a meeting?
We had him here, and I
know
thought he
you
was
want-
gonna do it. Yeah, he can do it again, because
Do you want him back to answer the questions that
he can, but I'm gonna, the last I remember is there was boilerplate language that he has, or has access to, that he was gonna put together for us and do it. So have him back, that's fine.
I'm talking the developer of Triple
Oh,
Crown.
what are we gonna do to him? Sounds like he needs to go before conservation.
Yeah, conservation could have shut that job down in 2 seconds if they had them problems. They have more control, as we found out, than any board in town, because it's the Wetlands Act and the
You
species.
don't want the developer to come in front of the board?
Sure, he can come in, all we want him to do is finish, but if Ben can't even talk to him and he's getting, yeah, have him come in. He can tell us, yeah, I'm gonna finish, is he gonna or not? Who knows?
I think we should start the process.
I think we need the attorney to
Yep.
get
Of
involved.
calling the bond.
Yep.
But if he comes in, what are we asking him?
That's what I'm saying.
What are
You're
we
gonna
gonna do?
Already
finish?
asked them.
Give us a
That's what I'm
timeline.
saying.
I'm
We
with
don't
you.
need, I don't need to waste my time on
The
this.
last house
Thank
was
you.
sold over a year ago. Over a year ago. He's not coming back. We're only
You know
fooling
that for
ourselves.
sure?
We're only I'd be willing to bet the house on
Well,
it.
that's why, if you get him in front of the board, have him say it right in front of you.
I'd rather have the attorney, you know, send a letter and start the process. You can ask him to
what
come.
process?
Calling the
To
bond.
call the bond, to get the money for the town. And
You can
then-
have him come in still if he wants to come in. But
Yeah,
No,
but
it's up to you. I mean, do you want, I mean, you've got a lot of questions, you got a lot of accusations and things.
we've
you know,
asked him all the
predictions.
questions that we've
I don't-
had already.
I don't have accusations. I have $180,000. He sold the last house a year ago. We have conservation who went out here on 4/30/25, okay, to look at the project. We had our own engineers that this board hired, or this town hired, that said things were supposed to be right, and, you know, who knows if they aren't, but I do know one thing, the place is a mess, and there's
Yeah, so
100.
That's why I'm asking, like, why wouldn't you wanna talk to the developer and say, why is it such a mess?
Ben was, over a month ago, Ben was reaching out to him to ask him to come in and to deal with them, and we just asked you and said, Ben ain't having much success. So I don't know how much more success we can have. I think the lawyer needs to be involved at this point. You can ask the lawyer and him to come in the same night if you want, but I don't know what good it does. He knows what he has to do. All he has to do is go and see you and say, he doesn't have to waste an hour here, he just has to go and finish the job. That's all, but
You know, in my opinion, as a resident too, if you call them out in front of the board, which you guys have been doing for the past, you know, years, putting them, to put their feet to the fire and say, you said you were gonna do it this way, why aren't you doing it?
what do we have
the
to hold?
fire.
We have nothing. He left the job. All he has to do is go back and finish it. He hasn't been there. What's he gonna wait, 2 years, 3 years after the house
Well,
is
wouldn't
sold?
you wanna know a timeline?
No,
What-
no, I'd rather have the,
I don't think he'll give us an
I'd
honest
rather have
timeline.
the lawyer start the process
Call the bond.
of calling the bond and let us get it done. And if the lawyer says, I'm gonna send him a letter first, good. There's no need for me to talk to him. All right, the other thing I wanted to
Wait, when is conservation organizing a time?
Yeah.
They've, well, she sent an email today and she asked for the 19th. She's waiting to hear back for availability.
I'm good.
Monday, May 19th.
Yeah,
But we don't know if will be a definitive date. She just put that date out there as, you know, a starting point.
and honestly, just drive through there. You'll see it. There's silk fence everywhere, there's trailers, it's a
unfortunate.
mess.
People living in these houses?
Oh, yeah.
People living in,
Big
there's a
houses.
big giant puddle at the top house that they were trying to sell with the drainage, which they allegedly corrected, but they wedged the driveway.
The homeowners probably
But-
have more pull at this point. to
All
see-
right,
I think the bank has some money still for the driveway.
when's the town election?
Because they're not even,
The
they're not
20th?
finished.
20th, and our next meeting is when?
The 15th.
15th.
15th. I'm stepping down as chair. We're gonna have new elections, after the election, so maybe we don't do it
Well, we usually do it
15th.
at the end of the fiscal year, right? Don't we do it like July 1st?
We could
No.
do it when
We
you
can do it whenever we
reconstitute a
want.
board too,
Yeah, just-
usually.
the board should be all intact, right? And by the 20th, the election, so we'll do it the next meeting after
The
that?
next meeting after that?
You're stepping down as chair, not stepping off the board.
Not yet. I will stick around, but
Baby
yeah, it's
steps.
time for you, you know, I know you guys are young and smart and can do a lot better job than me. You won't be late for a meeting, right, Jeremy?
You got it.
I was right in front of you, I was in that traffic. But,
I got back-to-back
but I
texts.
think it's time, and that's all I have to say. Any old business? Anybody else with new business? Any old business?
Real quick, golf course, Enclave, we having them come in? We gotta get this drainage problem squared away.
Be good for an update.
Dave, when's the last time you were out there?
I think we're out there this week.
You were out there this week?
Jake?
Not me personally.
Jake?
Jake was out there this week.
Okay.
We try to get out there the week of the board meetings.
What do you think?
I don't think anything's really changed.
Still have water coming across the road?
I think we've seen a lot less. if any. I think the last time we looked at it, when we were out there a couple days after a rainstorm, it wasn't flowing across underneath the, well, let me back that up, which, above the road or below the road? Because we have the,
Either, not supposed to come either way, right?
right, so above the road, yes, nothing's changed. The site drainage is still going past the catch basin that they put in to try to mitigate that.
But the collars, right? I think that's.
But then
yeah.
the underground, yes, the collars seem to have worked, but once again, it's anecdotally because,
And I see them doing the bridge on the other side or working on the gate or something.
in the open space.
No, where they just did the condos.
The emergency access road.
Got
What
it.
were they doing over there?
I don't know off the top of my head, but
Were they, I went by, they were doing something, right, Dave, last week?
They were working back there, I just don't know what they were doing on that
All
road
right.
back there.
Well, I guess we'll have them in too.
And just so the board knows, the water is flowing under that pipe across the street heavily when it rains. Also witnessed by the chairperson for the Conservation, Ed Derby. I was in talks with him yesterday about it, so it's definitely, and I'll refresh everybody's memory, we were assured by their attorney that there would be no more water than what was going into that prior to that being built, if you remember. So, and I will always keep that in my mind because, just to refresh is, I am not in favor of us putting any type of water system, drainage, or anything on what is now going to be the town property. We see how they respond with what problems we've had up there, which in my eyes is very poorly. And I don't want 15 years from now, the town of Tyngsborough residents, I'll probably be dead by then, dealing with this, that we have to pay for it. I've done construction most of my life. You are responsible for your water, your runoff on your property. Otherwise, this board and nobody else would have even approved that site work up there. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind. But appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I know Jake is up there too, because you were telling me last meeting, so I appreciate that.
Anybody else? Looking for a motion?
Making a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night, thank you. All set.